shopping mall known as Ikeja City Mall, which is the biggest mall in Lagos mainland and also has a cinema. These are some interesting places that make Lagos a world-class destination.
Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed blames the Nigerian media for the country's poor image in security. And former Minister of Aviation Femi Fani Kayode, who said he would rather die than join the APC, has joined the ruling party, and he's not dead. Well, this is Plus Politics, and I am Mary Anna Cole. The Nigerian media has been accused of giving Nigeria a poor image. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, made the accusation, saying its efforts in fighting the security challenges in the country have been dismissively reported. He said to the unflattering portrayal of the country by the country's media, he said that is the reason why Nigerians in diaspora, investors and the international community at large are wary of visiting the country. He went on to say that security agencies have also successfully tackled the security or separatists in the southeast and southwest and the militants in the south-south, but unfortunately, these efforts were not well reflected in the reportage of the security challenges that Nigeria faces. Well, joining us to discuss this is Dikbo Olayoku. He's a journalist. Ufoma Egbamuno, who's a broadcast journalist, and Imo Edit, a journalist and producer with West Africa Democracy Radio in Dakar, Senegal. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like there should be a woman on this team, but it's okay. I'm glad to talk to all the men. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Dikbo, because you seem to be the one who's been in this business longer than we all have been in. So, of course, let's examine what the minister has to say. We have the NBC, we have BON, we have the Writers Association, we have all of these bodies that are supposed to check and control what we put out every day as the media. But when the Minister for Information comes out with this kind of accusation, what image is he trying to paint of the Nigerian media?
Yes, thank you very much. Before we go into that, there's something they call self-censorship. But before I educate on that, we need to state from the beginning that our job is a thankless job. Thankless is in the sense that in spite of what we go through every day to get the news, we will still discover that the journalist is an endangered thing.
Mr. Olayoku, we're having connection problems with you, so we're going to bring you back on in a second. So just hold that thought. I'm just going to have to throw the question to Ufoma and Imo. Ufoma, Mr. Olayoku is saying that this is a thankless job. It's a job that you never really get a nod for, except you're an entertainer, for example. But if you're a broadcast journalist and you're a newsman, he's saying that first and foremost, it's a thankless job. But again, let's look at what the minister has to say about us. What picture is this painting of the Nigerian media?
Marianne, I think I remember a couple of weeks ago when I was on the show, I made a proverb. I talked about how, the Isoko man is well known for his usage of cutlass. And So it's almost impossible. You don't carry cutlass at the back of an Isoko man. It's almost forbidden. That's because he knows how effective that cutlass actually is. And that's almost exactly what is happening here with Lai Mohammed. Before 2015, when the APC got into power, the media was the darling of the Minister of Information and Culture. He almost always, has this love relationship with the media because, his relationship with the media was, to a large extent, what helped portray the previous government of Goodluck Jonathan in a bad light. This is also not giving excuses for the Goodluck Jonathan administration. It was terrible. It was bad, But of course, they did a lot of bad things, and so. The present minister, who was the spokesperson of the opposition party at the time, used his connection with the media to, of course, portray all of these things. Well, they are now in power. He's been in power for 6 years, and unfortunately, things have gone from bad to worse. You say it is white when it is black. Unfortunately. To a large extent, I understand what he's trying to say, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, when the media is not portraying the good part, that we're always talking about the negative. But unfortunately, it's our job to say it the way it is. And you and I know in this business, bad news sells. It's just the way it is. You can't run away from it. So as much as we also want to be patriotic, like he's saying, we also want to, talk about some of the gallant efforts of our military. Well, we can't stop reporting that bandits have attacked, or terrorists, I should say, because I'm not going to join, that nonsense. You call them bandits. They're terrorists. They kill people, they kidnap people, and all of that. We're not going to stop reporting the fact that they attacked the NDA. We're not going to stop reporting the fact that 30 soldiers, military officers were reportedly killed sometime in April. We're not going to stop reporting all of that. It's just the way it is.
I think we're having problems with the former's connection, but I think we have Mr. Layoku back on the line. Mr. Layoku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So we'll take it up from where you stopped. Go ahead.
Yes. I said it's a two-way thing. That's why I started by saying the journalist has a responsibility to protect national interest. And I went further to say that because of the job that we do, we are an endangered. Because if you look at Section 22 give us a specific role. And maybe that is why we are the envy of every other person, especially people in government. It is our duty to report news. We don't make news. But the point is, why reporting news, you owe it a responsibility or a duty to also look at national.
I think today we're struggling with the connections, both on our phone lines and I think the internet is also terrible. But let's toss to you, Imo. Hopefully the internet in Senegal is better. Now, both speakers have pointed to the issue of, the former has spoken about the fact that there might be something to what he's saying as to the sensational headlines, the fact that people want buy more bad news, because if you say that a man bit a dog bit a man, it's not necessarily news because dogs bite humans. But when the story says a man bit a dog, then that's news, obviously, and everybody wants to understand why a man would be crazy enough to bite a dog. And in this case, the Honourable Minister is saying that the press is picking and choosing or cherry picking in terms of what stories they want to highlight, and that we're not necessarily pushing the positives that the government has made in terms of winning the war, if there be any winning, against insecurity.
Well, first of all, I think Before I mentioned the minister and his cohort enjoying the media when they were not in government. And I really see no reason why he would want to castigate the media this time around, saying that they are painting Nigeria in a bad light. I mean, it's a 50-50 thing, whether you like it or not, give or take. They have been in power for over 5 years, and they have all the wherewithal. They have every power to change whatever people had perceived about Nigeria, in the past decades within this period of time. So I really don't make out anything from what he's saying that the media is painting the country in a bad light. Every media world over, whether you like it or not, they state their headlines the way they are. I mean, if the terrorists kill or ransack villages and cause mayhem, instilling fear in people, the media will have to report that. I mean, going about to say that you should stop reporting insurgency attacks and all of that is just way beyond handcuffing the media. So I think, first of all, I blame the government. If they know very well that the country is in a bad light outside the country, yes, they have. It's on their table to ensure that they clean the mess and paint the picture, give a good picture to people outside.
But isn't this a way of them trying to clean it, because it's on their table and they feel that, well, the number one perpetrators or the number one people who seem to be painting this bad picture, according to them, is the media.
It is the same media that will give them what they want. And so you cannot eat your cake and have it. It's the same media that will tell you, okay, Nigeria is doing well, the economy is booming and things, are happening. It's the same media that will report that they've been attacking in the north, in the east, and the west, and all of that. So you can't really have it. Like I said, it's a 50-50 thing. Now, the impression about the image of Nigeria, yes, he's right. I mean, there's no way you will leave the shores of the country. The very moment you open your mouth to say, I'm a Nigerian, oh, Nigeria, corruption. That's always the first thing. And it will take a while before, that perception will be cleared. And people still say good things about Nigeria, not because they see it in the media. I mean, the politicians, are the ones who go outside the country and display this affluence. So, I mean, would you say that people wouldn't say what they've seen? They will say it and then put it back in the media. So really, it's a 50-50 thing, and he shouldn't put the blame on the media like he's doing. The media have a role to play, and that's what they've been doing over time. We report what we see. We set the opinion. We let them know, look, this is how the people are feeling. And if they don't like it that way, then that is their problem. I really don't agree with him, and I totally disagree. My colleagues here in Dakar, when we saw the news, they were laughing. Why would he say that? Why would he say that? We still look. We went ahead to see all the things he have written over the years when he was still the spokesperson for his party before I mean, he's still there. If you check his blog, Lai Mohammed is still there. All the things. He was the first to release a press statement at every event. Lai Mohammed released a statement at every event, even when we're not supposed to cough. He will release a statement. So why is he now feeling bad that the media is reporting what we are seeing? I really don't buy that.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Can you hear me clearly, Miriam?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's one thing to run propaganda and be an opposition, or, it's another thing to be in power and hold the narrative. They're two different things entirely. You have to give it to Lai Mohammed. He was absolutely amazing. I'm trying to look for more adjectives to actually describe how himself, and of the opposition, with from General the president right now to the APC leader Tinubu, he was just spokesperson. He did an amazing job for the 5 or 6 years or thereabout that Goodluck Jonathan was president, to always portray the Goodluck Jonathan presidency in a bad light. So he was king. He was great at doing that. And for the love of God, Goodluck Jonathan and his presidency also gave them a lot of ammunitions, from bomb blasts in Nyanya happening, and the next day they're in Kanu, dancing around and celebrating and all of that. There were lots of issues that happened that Lai Mohammed seized upon at that point in time. But like I said, it's one thing to run propaganda, or it's one thing to point out ills and evil, of one person. It's another thing to be on the saddle and also try to hold the narrative. Unfortunately, for 6 years, the president, the presidency, the Minister of Information, the spokespersons of the president, they have totally failed, and I mince no words here. They have failed.
How have they failed? When you say they've failed, in what regard have they failed?
I think let me help you out a bit,
is just a second. Femi Adesina or Garba Lawal are always on the defensive. They're always trying to, things will happen. Instead of them to come out as quickly as possible to hold the narrative or to give explanations, no, they won't. 2-3 days later, when the things have blown out of proportion, they come out and they try to be on the defensive. They try to insult people. You see something is white, you want to tell us that it is gray, you insult our intelligence. See, Nigerians are not kids anymore. That's the honest truth. In fact, to a large extent, they don't even, to some extent, most times they don't even believe mainstream media anymore. That's because they also know that the government has, either directly or indirectly, tried to take hold of the media. So the problem here is that for Lai Mohammed and the presidency spokesperson, all of them in that media department, they fail to translate from running propaganda or being the opposition to running government and holding the narrative. So that's why you see what we're seeing right now.
Okay, I just want to go into some things that he said, which I want you, maybe I'm going to throw this to you more. He said, and I quote, "If one picks up most newspapers, watches most television stations, or listens to most radio stations in Nigeria today, he or she will be right to think that Nigeria is at war. Yes," he says, "we have challenges, especially in the area of security. But this administration has not only acknowledged these challenges, it is earnestly tackling, the challenges." So I ask you, Imo, because you're reporting mostly on these things from the outside. And of course, I'm guessing that when these things happen, they look to you as the Nigerian in the newsroom, for clarity. How well do you think that the government has, let's leave the issue of information management on the one hand. How well has the government dealt and managed the challenges of herders or unknown gunmen or bandits or even the non-state actors that are creeping up every day?
Well, first of all, that issue you mentioned is mostly what dominates our editorial meetings here. Sometimes we're just two Nigerians here, and we used to feel the entire Dakar Senegal news is about Nigeria. There is no day you will not report an attack either in Kaduna, in Borno, in Sokoto. There is just no day an attack will come. And once it happens, will you tell us not to report that? That is news for people who are not in Nigeria. They will want to know, why is there another attack in Nigeria and all of that? I think the government and the media handlers of the current administration are not being proactive. Like Ufama mentioned, they should stop playing the blame game. As someone who is in the ruling party, you should be proactive. Before the Nigerians will think of anything, you drop it and these people are working. Before anything will happen, you drop it. Sometimes it will take days before the military will release a statement about an attack that happened on Monday or Tuesday, or 3 days ago. And then you hear different, media reporting them, Reuters, APF, and the rest of them. Even also we're reporting it because of, the correspondent we have there. I mean, that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case. I remember clearly this same insecurity, like before I mentioned, Lai Mohammed was always the first to report it. The government are not doing this. The state of insecurity is growing, this and that. They were reporting it. So it's now their turn to face the heat. So I wonder why they are seeing the media as those that are pushing these stories out to those in the world. If we sit in our home, even back there in Nigeria, we hear we read stories and watch news of attacks in Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the rest of them. So what makes Nigeria different? What makes Nigeria different? Because you cannot have such an issue and then you don't report it. You don't report. I mean, it's crazy. The French colleagues there will ask me, why is your country like that? Why are they trying to stifle the media in Nigeria? I mean, there will be issues that ordinarily the Nigerian media should have been the first to report. But you get to see these stories on other international media. Why is that so? Because the government, they have handcuffed the media in that country. And that is what they have always had in mind when they come in. They knew the role the media played when they were in the opposing side. And they felt, look, if they continue with this, we will lose out completely. In fact, they have lost as it is. Because the remaining years, whether they like it or not, the perception that they have presented to Nigerians will last till this government leaves. I tell you, every Nigerian we come across here, they don't say good thing about the current administration. I'm not trying to paint them in a bad image, but that is always the perception we get. You go to the Nigerian embassy in Dakar here, it is still the same thing. People are complaining. Why is your government like that? Oh, Imo, you're from Nigeria. Why is Nigeria like that? Nigeria is supposed to be the big brother of Africa.
The statement you made before now sounds more like this administration knew that they were not going to be able to deliver. Because
Certainly.
when you say because when you say that
6 months
to
set up a cabinet.
Well, because when you say that this has always been their plan all along, it sounds more like they were only just selling us, you know, a whitewash of sorts, and you know that they were never going to be able to.
You and I know that clearly. I mean, they never had anything on the agenda. I mean, go back to their manifesto and check. What was it that they wanted to give Nigerians? The only thing they campaigned on was corruption.
To fight corruption, to deal with unemployment, and of course, put an end to banditry.
Corruption was the main thing. Nigerians were tired of what was happening at the moment, and they felt, okay, we don't have any other choice. If this is the man you guys are presenting, let's take him. And trust Lai Mohammed, like before mentioned, he did a great job painting that man in a good image, painting those that will come in a very good image, and Nigerians fell for it, and we are suffering with that at the moment. So it will take a while. It will take a while before Nigerians will even accept whatever this administration will say. People don't take them seriously because of those that are heading the different areas.
I think we have Dikwa Olayoku back. Hopefully this time we might be able to hear him. Mr. Olayoku, you're more of the print. We hear about screaming headlines, misleading openers on shows, sensationalism of certain stories. I mean, recently a particular TV station was put on the chopping board for analyzing something from a point of, ignorance and making the media, again, look bad. And of course, we also know that bad news sells. So is this something that the media also needs to probably pause in its tracks to take a look at? Yes, we know that there's the politics to it and the angle from which the Minister of Information is coming from. But sincerely, is the media complicit to an extent in the way that in our reportage generally?
Yes, the point you get in this profession, and you look at what is going to be the effect of my story on the society. There is an example that we give us in the School of Journalism. Two journalists or two reporters covered an event. The other one said the cup is half full. The other one said the cup is half empty. They are both putting the same thing, but from different parts. And that should be the guiding principle of every reporter on TV. Nigeria is going through a very difficult thing. As a journalist, as a reporter, am I through my heart dousing the tension, or am I creating more tension? During the 9/11, that was what I'm talking of. That American invasion, the bomb in America. We were in the meeting. We were enjoying the story coming up. About 2 weeks after that, it had been reported. A colleague drew attention to something. A colleague in his room said, do you notice something? That since this report has been coming out, that no American television station has ever shown the photo of an American being pulled out of a robbery. That was when I became confident. It is true. Coincidentally, 2 months later, I went for a seminar, and a reporter from CNN was there. I took up this matter with them, and the CNN reporter told me that no American broadcast house will show the death of an American being brought out from the road. That is what they call self-censorship.
So Mr. Olayoku, you're telling me that we seem to be, you're saying that we as the Nigerian media are selling ourselves short. We're showing more of our weaknesses than our strengths. Is that what you're saying? Because according to the story.
No, there is nothing double of self-censorship. That's why I said, this is my story. What is going to be the effect on the society? You see, because Nigerians, we just came out of a military regime, and then the journalists find itself as fighting the military to resource the leaders democracy. But interestingly, many of us, we have not changed our disposition. That is what, maybe that's what like Mohammed was saying. In your reportage, you look at what is going to be the effect of this I'm reporting on society. That should be the guiding principle of every journalist. It is called self-censorship. No NBC will get you. No NBC, they don't need NBC. But you yourself, by virtue of your position, what will be the effect of my story, my headline on the society? I think that's most important. Because if anything happens to this country, and the heavens fall, as people are saying, it's going to fall on everybody. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Ufoma Imo, interestingly, Mr. Olayoku is bringing our attention to something which I'm not sure if you heard everything he said, but he was pointing to the fact that during the 9/11 attacks, no American photojournalist or camera person showed images of Americans being taken out of the rubble throughout that time. And then he asked why this was, and they said, well, it's not their style. You're not supposed to show the weakness. You know, it's supposed to show that, you know, maybe because we show all the things that happen, it makes us look weaker, or that the bandits are having the upper hand. And I had a conversation with somebody, an activist some time ago, and he said the same thing, that as much as we talk about and report these things, we also need to show that our army is working, because it also reflects badly or poorly on them and their psychology. But again, these are their thoughts, not mine. So going forward, because we must be able to cover all grounds, so that every time these types of accusations come up, we would be able to say, well, on our end, we're good, we're straight, as compared to if we have loopholes. So I'm going to start with you, Imo. Going forward, as the Nigerian media, and in reporting all of these things, not minding the politics that is around it, how do we make ourselves better and, like Caesar's wife, be above suspicion, I beg your pardon?
For me, I think we have more issues on the negatives than the positives. Yes, we do have the good side of Nigeria, and no doubt, but usually the positive must be able to overwhelm the negatives before you can now say the media is reporting the positives. Take, for instance, if you stay in a country where basic things are working, there is steady power supply, there is pipe-borne water, there are good roads. You can walk about in the night without being harassed or the fear of being kidnapped. The economy is booming. The government are looking at the people, and there's social security for those who are unemployed. The pension system is working. There is plans for the elderly or the aged citizens. I mean, people the media won't really have time to look at all of these things. When the case where these things are barely there. And the only news you have is the state of insecurity, which is so alarming. You really can't help but to report it. You really can't help. Like I said, whoever is handling the media in the military, whatever arm it is, must be proactive. And that is the only way. I mean, before the news gets out, you're able to issue a statement. I know in Nigeria it takes almost 72 hours or more before an official statement is issued in anything that happens. If they turn to being proactive, then I think people now start seeing, okay, the army said this, the army said that. You will not allow, you stop hearing, a military source or an eyewitness said, because one, the army has been able to come out to issue a statement.
We put the
even
speculations
before
to bed.
it is, yes, as it is. So, yes, I also agree with Uncle Diplo. I quite agree with him, no doubt. And again, if you look at Nigerians are fed up. And once they are fed up with whoever is leading or with the administration, they turn to what the media offer. What is in the news? Oh, okay, there's been an attack here, there's been an attack there. I mean, until the positives overtakes the negative, then we can now say, okay, there's been so much good thing coming out of Nigeria.
Okay.
Before all of that will stop.
Ufoma, quickly, because we're out of time.
So here's what I think. I honestly, as much as I agree with what Mr. Dikos said, we're actually doing it. There are a lot of stories we're not putting out. At least I know in my newsroom, there are lots of things that come, and we look at it and we're like, okay, let's put a pause on this for now. Let's not heat up the polity like we always say. So to a large extent, if we reported all of the things that come to our newsrooms, I'm sure, I don't know if Lai Mohammed will probably be crying right now because we're already doing a lot of that self-censorship. I also would not want to disagree with the fact that some of us also need to tell ourselves the truth. I see some very sensational headlines, with little or nothing to back up some of those headlines. Yeah, it's a problem. Out of every 12 disciples, there would always be the Judas. No doubt about it. I have my own issues with, with a section of our media. But from a general point of view, we are doing a lot of the censorship. But the government itself is, if the government came to power on the back of promises about security, how they were going to take security serious, which the previous government did not. But hey, it's gone from bad to worse. You're not going to tell me not to report that. Absolutely no way. You're not going to report it because it's happening.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you, gentlemen. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. Ufoma Igbamono is the head of news with Nigeria Info FM here in Lagos. Imo Edet is of the Democratic Radio, West Africa Democratic Radio Station in Senegal. I was thinking about something else. And then, of course, we have Mr. Dikpo Olayoku, who is a veteran journalist, joining us via telephone. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we will discuss the defection of Femi Fani-Kayode to the ruling APC, even after he promised that he will never do it. Stay with us.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 when they pay.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare, Sundays, 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we are borrowing.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely bought.
This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. A Moteco core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
Former Minister of Aviation Femi Fani-Kayode switched sides. He announced his return to the All Progressive Congress yesterday. Now, this comes barely 2 years after he described the party as darkness, which he will never associate with. Recall that in 2019, there was a speculation that he was considering joining the ruling party, to which he said, and I quote, "APC is a sinking ship." End of quote. He had accused the president, Major General Buhari-led regime, of deceiving Nigerians and with the anti-corruption war. Now that he's in the APC, he said he was just doing the right thing and that he believed that it was time for him to cross over and join hands with the president in moving the country forward. Well, joining us to break this down is Bola Oba. He's a political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Oba, for joining us.
Pleasure to be your state.
Yeah. Let's examine the man, Fani-Kayode, because he's a very interesting and very outspoken politician. We've seen and heard a lot from him in the past few years. And he's been very, very vocal about this government and the APC. But here we are today talking about him in the APC and somewhat taking back his words. Is Fani-Kayode the poster child for the average Nigerian politician, whether APC or PDP?
Is the ultimate poster child or the ultimate iconic character of the opportunism that defines our political environment. To be very honest with you, any political environment where ideology is lacking, where conviction cannot be easily defined, where opportunism is the name of the game, and where the zeitgeist is wanting to be part of the shopping party. I guess there is no better character on the Nigerian political terrain today that defines such rabid opportunism as Fani-Kayode.
But it's not that we. Yes, of course, a lot of people have put his feet to the fire, but he's not the only one who has moved to the APC. We've seen governors, we've seen senators. We even saw a member of the National Assembly, I think in River State or so, moved to the APC yesterday. There's been a mass movement of sorts. And it's not really new, these defections, even though most of the people who've defected at some point were bad-mouthing the APC. So should we even be making Fani-Kayode out to look like the bad guy here?
The unfortunate part of Fani-Kayode is that unlike many chieftains of state who perhaps moved to the APC to cover or to protect themselves or shield themselves from the partisanly powered plague lights of EFCC. We know that those institutions are now literally used for partisan purposes. Many executive chieftains of state who have moved to the APC because they want to shield themselves from the investigative eyes or the partisanly propelled investigative eyes of the EFCC. Fani-Kayode is a consummate player and a seasonal master player or maestro of this kind of political opportunism. When we're getting nearer, you must remember how he used to be a virulent critic, a virulent antagonist of the former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And when it was just about time, at about this season, during the last political calendar, he also jumped ship and ultimately became the spokesperson of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's failed re-elections campaign. So I'm not surprised. But in his case, you just there are so many players, but why do we have to celebrate CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi? Because they're just good at what they do. Fani Kayode is the ugliest face of the political maneuverings amongst Nigerian politicians. So it is. And it's actually quite disturbing and very perturbing that a president that claims to be integrity personified, that claims to be an agent of change, and someone who is graciously referred to as Mr. Integrity could be the one now that will literally open the doors of the most dignified residents in this country to a political low-lifer. You know, but that's the name of the game. We thought Buhari was going to be different, but he's now telling us and showing us that in every material particular, he is as pedestrian as those that he was being touted to be better than.
Let's go back to when the governor of Kogi State mentioned, in fact, he said it authoritatively, that Fani Kayode had joined, the APC. He came out and said, no, that's not possible. He's not joined the APC. Again, Fani Kayode has, on joining the APC, has started to wax lyrical. He's mentioned names of people he authoritatively believes are going to join the APC soon. He's mentioned one of the most thriving governors in the country, the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, as one of those who would be joining the APC. And he's even talked about Bauchi Governor and Enugu governors joining the APC. He also took credit for some other people who have recently joined the APC. And I remember that particular member of the National Assembly speaking on another TV station, saying that he would rather that Fani Kayode retracts that statement because it's an insult on his person. So it makes us really wonder if there's any truth to what he said, about all the other people he's pointing to join the APC.
The only thing that is consistent about Fani Kayode in his very short political life thus far has been his consistent inconsistency. I don't want to take anything he says with a grain of this thing, but having said that, we have somebody who is an ambassador of the age of perfidy. So I am not one who is going to be particularly taking any of these characters serious, because Fani Kayode a couple of weeks ago was far more vehement in rejecting the proposition that he was going to join the APC than anybody's rebuttal that you are alluding to now. I won't even be surprised if a former president that has been so reported, although is yet to confirm it, so reported that it will be, going to the APC. I won't be surprised if it goes. We are dealing with men and women who lack conviction. We are dealing with men and women who can do anything to protect themselves from the incongruities that they have conducted whilst abusing the offices they hold. So it's easy for them to trade integrity for opportunism. We are dealing with characters. So let's be very honest with ourselves. The only saddening part of it was that for a while, some of us, between 2014 and 2015, foolishly believed, let me own up and apologize to Nigerians, although I withdrew my support for him 2018, 2019, when, to me, he had defined himself as somebody whose presidency was ultimately going to fail. But between 2014 and 2015, I was one too who foolishly believed that he was a character that could function above his peers. Now I know he's just one of them.
We have to go. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. Balauba is a political analyst. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your set. Virtually.
Okay. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. We'll take a short break now and go through the highlights of this week. And when we return, I'll be saying my goodbyes.
My sister, I am equally at a loss the way you are. In fact, as a person, I am embarrassed by the lines of action taken by government, or in the manner in which the government is handling a lot of situations emanating from this fight against terrorism and banditry. I am at a loss. If security constituted part of the the tripod on which this government came into power, I expect to see far greater lines of actions that would at every point reassure the citizen that even if we are not making some impact, we have a government that cares. I really cannot understand what's happening. Frankly speaking, the UAE authorities have given us a list of 400 persons, okay, who are operators and are said to be sponsors behind Boko Haram. Till now, we are still hesitant at bringing them to book. Jesus Christ. Is it that some individuals in government know what we don't know?
The management of information, I think, is very, very poor in government today, because we should have a focal point of somebody who is supposed to make statements. When it comes to issues of security, I think the National Security Advisor should say something, or the Minister of Defense, not the Minister of Police Affairs. You know, the Minister of Police Affairs should be telling us about internal security and what police can do.
Well, I'll tell you what the National Security Advisor has said lately. He has told IPOB that they should stay clear of the Anambra elections. Is that the most important thing that the NSA should be discussing right now?
Well, it concerns national security. It concerns national security because, well, when you are trying to stop the political process, you know, it concerns national security. So, well, it's in place for him to tell them to stay away. If they're agitating for their own independence or whatever, I think there are other channels. And I think a lot of people in the Southeast agree to this, that there should be other channels than disrupting or violence is not just the answer.
There was never evidence that those people at the toll gates were armed. They even admitted. The military admitted, General Taiwo admitted that the protesters were not armed. Now to your question, I don't want us to be over-optimistic about what is going to be done by these findings. At the end of the day, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry will submit its reports and make recommendations. Whether those recommendations will be implemented is a different thing entirely. But given the antecedents of this regime, I am convinced that it is very unlikely that any of those soldiers will ever be court-martialed or put on trial. Because this is a regime that has shown itself unwilling to abide by the rule of law, a regime that has shown continuous contempt for human life, a regime that does not have any respect for international best practices and rules of engagement. So you don't expect that regime, a regime that has lied on record about the activities at the toll gate, to now take a somersault and implement whatever finding this commission is going to make.
I will say that federal government did not also do well in some ways, because if people are agitating, at the beginning of this agitation, if government had approached it via dialogue, maybe we wouldn't have gotten to the point that we are today.
It will be shameful and sad if former President Goodluck Jonathan decides to join the APC. I won't be surprised, so to say, but it will be very, very sad and shameful of him to do that. Because if you go back and try to read through all the comments, all the abuses hurled at him by members of APC that are now asking him to come and join them, you ask yourself, are politicians suffering from dementia or something? Is that something that we're not aware of as people that the politicians are aware of? Because it's for me, it is completely laughable, it is completely unacceptable, and does not hold water in a civilized society that we all belong to.
And that's the show for tonight and this week. Of course, we will see you on Monday next week as the stories keep developing and as news breaks. We will be here talking for development. I am Mary Anako, and have a great weekend.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you. There has to be a decision point.